Hello there and welcome to the program. With the world already outraged by blatant scenes of injustice, Israel continues to escalate its actions that can only be described as inhumane and illegal. The latest development came from Israeli far-right Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, who recently announced plans to approve tenders for the construction of over 3,000 housing units in the highly controversial E1 settlement project in the West Bank, stating that the move buries the idea of a Palestinian state. The E1 project, long frozen due to strong international opposition, would sever East Jerusalem from the rest of the West Bank, making the prospect of a future Palestinian capital there virtually impossible. Worse still, settlers, backed by the Israeli army, have increasingly taken it upon themselves to attack Palestinian villages and seize land at an unprecedented pace. With world leaders condemning the latest plan, how much further can Israel go on defying global norms? And what future is left for Gaza and for peace when every move seems aimed at erasing the very idea of a Palestinian state? Welcome to Think Tank.
Our world is becoming unhinged.
Welcome to the program. Israeli far-right Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich approval of contentious new settlement construction in the occupied West Bank. He stated that the move is aimed at ending any possibility of a Palestinian state and noted that the plan has the backing of Israeli Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. According to the Times of Israel, Smotrich emphasized the E1 project has been frozen for decades due to fierce international opposition. He described the decision as a break from long-standing diplomatic constraints aimed at linking the Ma'ale Adumim directly to occupied Jerusalem. The potential construction of a new neighborhood in the E1 zone has long been a source of alarm for the international community. The newspaper added that the project would effectively divide the West Bank into northern and southern sections, severing East Jerusalem from the surrounding Palestinian cities such as Bethlehem and Ramallah. This would prevent the development of a contiguous Palestinian urban center, long envisioned as the foundation for a future Palestinian state. Smotrich, who also holds a key position in the Israeli Defense Ministry that gives him significant authority over settlement construction, framed the decision to move forward with E1 as a response to a recent wave of Western countries announcing or considering plans to recognize a Palestinian state at the United Nations next month. Meanwhile, Israel has escalated its attacks in the West Bank, with a notable surge in settler violence targeting Palestinian communities. According to the New York Times, Israeli settlers carried out more than 750 attacks on Palestinians and their property during the first half of this year, an average of almost 130 assaults per month. This marks the highest monthly average since the UN Office for Coordination and Humanitarian Affairs began tracking such incidents in 2006. The New York Times also noted that the hardline settler leaders openly admit their goal is to intimidate Palestinians into abandoning key areas of land territories that are considered central to any future Palestinian state. The newspaper added that settler violence is no longer confined to remote or sparsely populated areas. It has increasingly spread to a cluster of wealthier, better connected Palestinian villages closer to Ramallah, including Bekaa and its neighboring village, Beitin.
Israel's recent announcement of plans to expand illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank, particularly through the controversial E1 settlement project, is more than just an expansion. It's a strategic move to isolate East Jerusalem from the West Bank and sabotage any chance of a Palestinian state. Israeli Finance Minister Smotrich made no secret of the intent. In a statement titled, "Viewing the Idea of a Palestinian State," his office confirmed the goal to prevent Palestinian sovereignty in direct defiance of international law. The timing is also no coincidence. Israel's move follows a growing wave of international recognition of Palestinian statehood, which the Netanyahu government openly rejects. A recent Knesset motion even called for the annexation of the West Bank. The move, publicly justified by Smotrich as a direct response to growing international recognition of Palestinian statehood, is not only provocative, but constitutes a clear breach of international law. The United Nations, through Security Council Resolution 2334, reaffirmed in 2016 that Israeli settlements in occupied territory are a flagrant violation with no legal validity. The European Union echoed this stance, calling the E1 expansion plan an outright breach of international law. Meanwhile, Israeli settlers, protected and emboldened by the military, continue to carry out violent attacks on Palestinian villages and seize land at an unprecedented rates. Over 500,000 settlers now live illegally in the West Bank, reshaping the reality on the ground. With every new unit built, the window for peace narrows further as violations mount and hopes dim. How long will Israel persist in violating international law while defying all international norms and ethics?
Now, delving more into this, joining us from Paris is Majid Boudin, an international law professor, and from occupied Jerusalem, Abdel Nasser Mekki, who is a political science professor. Welcome to you both. Thank you for being here with us on Qnews. I'll start with you, Dr. Boudin. So by announcing the new construction plan, Smotrich stated that it would end the idea of any idea of a Palestinian state because there will be nothing and no one to recognize. Does Smotrich's statement not constitute a clear admission of intent to violate international law?
First of all, when a state breaches international law, there is no necessity always to have the intention to do it. The fact that they breach international law is sufficient. And here, there is more than that. They have the intention, and there is a plan, which is a systematic plan to prevent the creation of the Palestinian state. The fact why this is a breach of international law, because Israel has been declared as the occupying state, and they have an obligation to maintain the protection of the Palestinians, meaning the protection of the population and the protection of the land and of the structure on the land. So Israel is doing the opposite, so they are breaching international law. The equation is very simple and it's a crystal clear matter. So Israel, there is no dispute that Israel is breaching international law. Now, the ground also, we have the declaration of the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice, who said that. There is the Security Council who said that. So the matter is very clear. Now, what to do in front of this accomplished fact? A fait accompli. What to do here? Israel doesn't obey to the decisions or the legal opinions or the advisory opinions of the International Court of Justice, but here all the states, they have made a recourse before the ICJ, could go again before the International Court of Justice and seek another conservative provisional measure. And as we look at it on international law, it's very probable that they will obtain this decision and they will go with that to the international security, to the Security Council.
Okay, I'm bringing you in, Dr. Mekki. So Smotrich has said that pending approval, the so-called E1 project will go ahead and has Netanyahu's backing. Is Netanyahu now fully and completely in with the far-right members of his coalition?
Yes, I think by this project, he is chosen his extreme coalition members of the government. Even that, this project was before. Even Netanyahu wasn't with his coalition, but his idea also. This E1, it was before, but had been frozen because there are some, criticism by the international community and also by the United Nations. Now, as you know, because what's happening now, it's like a suitable time for this government to start talking about this project, and even implementation now have been, that started, before 2 days when Smotrich went there and he said that now he will start this project. So Netanyahu approved this, and Netanyahu was known everything about this project. He's supporting Smotrich, regardless if because of his coalition, he wants them to stay on the government, and they will be, encourage him and supporting him in staying in the government, and especially in the war of Gaza. But Netanyahu is not even take care or even ignore the international community and also the United Nations. He's just now focusing on the internal issues concerning his extreme government, his coalition, and he wants them to stay, and he wants to support them because the idea of the E1 now have been supported by the Smotrich, which he is one of the founder of the settlers and settlements in the West Bank. So this is a good chance for Smotrich to start this. He knows that Netanyahu will support him, because if not, Smotrich, he will resign, and this will drop the government of Netanyahu from the government. So I think Netanyahu is sacrificing with all things. Just he want to his coalition in the government, especially the extreme, that members to stay in the government.
Professor Boudin, you mentioned the legalities of it. These expansion of settlements, even despite UN Security Council Resolution 2334 declaring them illegal, it can't be seen as anything other than a deliberate defiance of international law, can it? Professor Boudin?
Yes, hello.
I was just saying, it can't be seen as anything, the expansion can't be seen as anything other than a deliberate defiance of international law.
Yes, I mean,
that's for Professor Boudin.
Okay.
Yeah. Under international law, the acts of Smotrich are the acts of the Israeli government, because they have been approved by the Prime Minister, so they are acts of the government. The acts of the government are the acts of Israel as a state. So the state of Israel is liable. On the other hand, the fact that Smotrich is backed by Netanyahu is involving the criminal responsibility of Netanyahu and Smotrich, and all states can go, or even the Palestinians, they can go before the International Criminal Court and make filing against Netanyahu and Smotrich. Also, the countries in the international community, like all the European countries, Canada, Australia, they have been taking action against Smotrich, against Ben Gvir, etc. They could add this to the list of sanctions, and so there are a lot of possibilities to stop these matters. Even, we can say, even if Palestinians or Israelis or they want peace, wanting peace, they can go before Israeli courts, even if there is 0.1% possibility to ask the Israeli judiciary to stop the government of Netanyahu and Ben Gvir and Smotrich to do these to pursue this new settlement. And then we have two possibilities. Even the judiciary, the Israeli judiciary, will reject that, and then it's established that there is no state of law for the Palestinians, and there is no democracy for the Palestinians. So there is a discriminatory situation. Or they obtain this, and they and Smotrich and Netanyahu has to obey to their own local judiciary. So all the possibilities are there to force this government to withdraw from continuing in this illegal act. But the most important thing is the act before the International Court of Justice.
Okay, and coming to you, Dr. Maki, Smotrich declared the latest move. He said it buries the idea of a Palestinian state. What does that reveal about Israeli policy when a senior government official openly declares the goal of permanently denying Palestinians the right to self-determination?
Look, for this project, which was before, as you know, this is government, is extreme government, which is consists from the members of the Tunisian, that coalition parties, Ben Gvir and Smotrich, and also some of the radicalist parties in Israel with Netanyahu Likud. So for this matter, I think this E1 project, the purpose of this project and the main objective is to not to have a Palestinian state and to make it isolation, because this project is isolated and divided the West Bank to north and south, and it also will consist from three big masses of three big settlements, which is Har Homa in Bethlehem, Rosh Etzion on Hebron, and also E1 here. And also this will be around Jerusalem. So it will be, there are many objectives for this project, which is to isolate Jerusalem and to not be connected with any of the West Bank locality, and also at the same time to divide the West Bank to the north and west, and this will make it isolated, and it will be like islands in West Bank. So there is no any possibility that there will be state in the future, because it will be divided and isolated by this project. This project is on the mountains of Jerusalem, and it is in the way in the middle of near Jerusalem, in the middle of the road between the southern part of West Bank, and also in the middle Ramallah, and also in the way with Jericho, and for the northern part of West Bank. So that means this project is like that it's a problematic for the Palestinian, and even in the de facto, in the ground, it will prevent to make any or to establish a Palestinian state in the future. And also at the same time, this will, that will be like deadly scores against the Palestinian, especially for the self-determination, which have been, that's even by the United Nations resolution 242-338, and also with the General Assembly, and the determination, even the admission of all countries that they should have a Palestinian state. As you know, the last this month was there have been conference in New York between France and Saudi Arabia, and many of the European countries have been said that they will be recognition of the Palestinian state in the September. Many of them have been recognized, that already. But Israel, as you know now, they, according to Smotrich, he have been made all these things on the ground, action. Now he said that there will not be any Palestinian state. We birthed this, and there no more any discussion about having this state for the Palestinian. And also at the same time, he said that there will be the annexation of the West Bank to Israel. That will be a part of the annexation of the land, but not the annexation of the people. And now they started to increase their reason and justification the people to go out like what's happening now in Gaza. So they want the land, but they not want the people or the citizen. They want to have the that's big Jerusalem and also big Israel, like Netanyahu said before 3 days on his map.
Now, Professor Boudin, shouldn't Smotrich's admission trigger some kind of immediate legal repercussions or sanctions?
Of course. I mean, the fact that he started to act in this way, it could allow countries to start a set of sanctions against Israel as a state and against the persons of Smotrich and Netanyahu and others. So the matter is clear, and it's very urgent for now to go before the International Court of Justice and seek another relief with a declaration of the obligation to put the situation in the status quo ante. It means to put the situation in the situation where it was before this movement and before all the settlement movements, and to declare that all the settlements are owned by the Palestinian state and not by the Israeli state, and that the Palestinian state will be owner of these settlements as part of the damages that the state is entitled to claim. So this could be persuasive to the settlers that they are building on the lands of others and they are not entitled to. So they will have to have the charges of destroying these settlements on their charges, and that these settlements could remain the property of the Palestinians and not of the Israelis, because it's built on the land of the Palestinians, and the intentional fact that they are building on the land of the Palestinians, knowing that, will prevent them from using the good faith, because they are doing it in bad faith. So the international law on damages is very clear that these settlements will be owned by the Palestinians, and if they are destroyed, it will be on the cost of the Israelis.
Okay, and coming to you, Dr. Mekki, I mean, with settler violence surging, often under Israeli military protection, this must be evidence of a systematic campaign to entrench Israeli control over Palestinians through terror and displacement.
Again, what I don't understand.
Yeah, with settler violence is surging. Often they're under Israeli military protection as well. Do you think this is evidence of a systematic campaign to entrench Israeli control over Palestinians through terror and displacement?
Yes, I think this is, that's about the violation of settlers now. It is under the protection of the Israeli, that's army and the Israeli government. And this is systematic. Yes, it's like a program put in by the government, and also with the cooperation with the Israeli settlers, in order that they want to make the fears to the Palestinians. And it's like they are the terror against the Palestinians. They want the Palestinians not to stay in their home and in their neighborhood, especially this week or on this yesterday. Many of the settlers attacks the Palestinians in their neighborhood, their locality, especially in Yatta, Sinjil, in Hebron, in Ramallah, in even Nablus. Many of the settlers also in Oja, in Jericho, also they have been attacking the people. Many of the people have been injured. Two persons, one person and his wife have been attacked by the Israeli settlers. So I think the Israeli government, especially the army, they also protect the settlers when they go there and they attack the Palestinian, and also they interfere, and also they arrested the Palestinian who they are just defeated in there by themselves against the settlers. So this is the campaign, a program campaign, which also by the Israeli government protect the settlers, and they encourage them to go there. The Israeli government, which is the extreme government, want the Palestinian to go out of their home, or of their land, out of this, that place, this country. They want them not to stay there. This is their objective of what they are doing now, especially for this government. This government now they are using the situation, that and the war, especially the war in Gaza, especially Trump government, especially even the ambassador Akbi, which is also encouraging the settlers, that to attack the Palestinian. He is believing with the idea that this land for the Israel, not for the Palestinian, and also the Trump even administration. Also, they encourage the Israeli government and the settlers to attack the Palestinian. Because of this, that there is now confrontation between the Palestinian and Israeli, and I think in the future this will increase, and this will be maybe reach to like third intifada against the Israeli because of the settlers attacking the Palestinian. Now,
Okay,
we see that.
Okay, let me just bring, we haven't got a long left, sorry about that. I just want to bring Professor Boudin in one more time. Obviously, all this comes from, Smotrich says, because of those nations who are planning to recognize a Palestinian state in September at the UN. Based on his own words, Smotrich urged Netanyahu to apply Israeli sovereignty and ensured that by September, he said, the hypocritical leaders in Europe will have nothing to recognize. So the countries like where you are in France and the UK and others, do you think Netanyahu doesn't really care about these countries who have given so much to Israel and supported Israel so much, as long as Netanyahu keeps the United States on side?
Of course, I mean, Netanyahu is aware that these countries, especially the European countries, plus the G7 countries, have a weight in the international community. So they have a fear to see the Palestinian state recognized. So this is why they are moving to prevent the situation, but the recognition by the Israeli parliament, or the decision by a law, or by a decision from a minister of the cabinet, they have no value under international law. So the international community will not take into consideration these acts. They are political acts, but they are legally without any effect. They are null and void. But here we have another tool to go and to deploy all the sanctions possibilities, even against the settlers, one by one, to list them on the sanction list. And this will make an effect on their action. And this is why there is a lot of possibilities to act against these legal acts. And it's important to prevent them by taking immediate actions before the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court, and different courts, and the sanctions from the states like Canada, France, England, Australia, New Zealand, and other countries. So now the situation is changing, but the acts must go fast. And this is why a need of provisional measures is important today.
Well, thank you very much, both of you, for joining us here on Q News. Majid Boudin, international law professor, and Abdul Nasser Maki, who is a political science professor. Thank you both for being here with us on Q News. And that's the end of this episode of Think Tank. Stay tuned for more on Q.